Good day YouTube, today let's just briefly cover the backdrop story and a little bit of understanding about the four heavenly kings or the 四大天王. They have different identities and mean different things to different people depending who you ask, but essentially in the novels, both Journey to the West as well as Investiture of the Gods, these four are generally bullies. They are like the bouncers outside the club picking on the smallest nerd in the pack, so they're not really very likable characters. But originally, four of them are Buddhist deities, and you can often see them featured in Chinese temples as the guardians of the four cardinal directions north, south, east and west. Now, in the 16th and 17th century, the four of them were given sort of like a backstory in the Chinese classics, The Investiture of the Gods, Feng Shen Ban. Now, this novel is a highly romanticized account of the fall of the Shang dynasty and the rise of the Zhou dynasty. It is the transition between these two dynasties in Chinese history. You have the Shang camp, who are essentially the antagonists, that's where our four brothers belong to, going to battle with the warriors of the Zhou camp, who are the protagonists and who eventually won the war. Now, the four heavenly kings, they were actually all surnamed Mo, which literally means demon or monster in Chinese. So these four brothers were in the camp of the antagonists, and they were quite a fair bit of headache for the good guys in the good camp, right? But essentially in chapter 41, eventually they were defeated by Shen, who is one of the key protagonists of the Zhou camp, Yang Jian, that's his name, and subsequently they were also killed in battle. In chapter 99, in Investiture of the Gods, all four of them were revived and given heavenly positions in the celestial court, and hence they assumed the guardians of the north, south, east and west, and that is kind of like their role going into Journey to the West. Now in Journey to the West, the four of them were just sort of, again, like I mentioned, they're like bouncers, and then they were like backdrop B-tier characters that got their ass whooped by Wukong, essentially when he went to wreak havoc in the Celestial Court. And in the game, they assumed a very similar role. After you defeat you can go into a giant Pacific Rim-like battle where you get to kick their ass. Most of us growing up never liked the four of them. They're obnoxious, they look silly, and they're kind of like the school bully that you really want to kick, right? So it was a very fun time really tearing them a new asshole in the game itself. But let us go into each individual character and detail out their names as well as their powers and weapons. Now the eldest of the four guardians and the eldest of the four brothers is named Mo Li Qing. Although Qing stands for green, but really this guy's signature color is blue. His face is blue and he carries a precious enchanted sword called the Azure Cloud Sword that can essentially unleash elemental weapons. Now he's the king of the south, so that's his cardinal direction, and his Chinese title is also known as the Zhen Zhao Tian Wang. He's the ruler of the wind and associated with the color blue as mentioned earlier. His blade can conjure black whirlwinds, firestorms, and really, he's one of the earlier guys that you will take down in the game itself. His younger brother is Mo Li Hong, who is the king of the north. He's the god of the warfare and the ruler of the rain. Now this guy's weapon is a little bit more particular. It's the parasol. It's not Violet Evergarden, but really it's an umbrella that when used seems to be able to unleash the cosmos and change time and space and so on and so forth, right? It's quite an OP and interesting weapon. When it opens, the world shakes and the pearls on the umbrella spell out the weight of the universe. His cardinal direction is that of the north, and when the monkey took the parasol and just jumped and stabbed him in the chest, it is a very satisfying moment. The third brother is Mo Li Hai. That's the guy that carries the Chinese instrument. It is a pipa, a Chinese mandolin. The four strings musical instruments are designated earth, water, fire and wind because these four brothers tend to be masters of elemental control. So this pipa also functions similarly to his elder brother's sword, where he can unleash elemental AoE onto his enemies. His face is often depicted in white color. He guards the cardinal direction of the east. Some of his other titles include 持国天王, and he's the god of music. In some other gentler and more benign accounts, he's often said to be harmonious, compassionate, and protects all other beings with his music, right? Whom he converts to Buddhism. Oh well. And the last brother is the guy that controls the snake, the pet. So he's known as Mo Li Shou. He's like the zookeeper of the group, right? His dragon-like snake acts like his divine lasso against his foe, and it's nice when Wukong uses it to strangle him. Yeah, he also carries an enchanted small bag with a monstrous pet inside called the Purple Fox. Although rat-like in appearance, once it's out of the bag, it can swiftly magnify in size and become ginormous and devour men and whole armies, Mo Li Shou's face is often depicted in red, and he guards the cardinal direction of the west. His Chinese name is also known as the Guangmu Tian Wang, and The snake is also known as like a Chinese dragon or a naga, and he used that to snare people into Buddhism. Alright? All in all, this is a very satisfying battle of Wukong in his Giant Stone Monkey mode, kicking the ass out of these 4 people. I must be frank that initially I was a little worried, 1 against 4. Is this going to be a very tough battle? My fingers already kind of jittery after the battle with Erlang. But game science really make this less of a contest but more of a showcase. Your health tops up every once in a while, and the 4 Heavenly Kings do very little damage to you and can just go around, kick the ass and enjoy the cutscenes from one to another. I think this is especially delicious because you see them at the start of the game, and it is an absolute must that you get to kick their big bottoms somewhere towards the tail end of the game. Anyway, this is one of my favorite points of Black Myth Wukong. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you, stay around, and goodbye.